first thing that we're gonna talk about, right, is gonna essentially be mindset. So when we talk about mindset, we're not just talking about like just personally. We're talking about spiritually, mentally, emotionally, financially. That's just in general the overall concept of having a mindset. And on top of that, in addition to that, right, we want to talk about having a positive slash open mindset with that. All right. So to start things off, right, we're gonna start off with realistic goals. So when you're thinking about having a positive mindset, you need to, in your mind, kind of vision what that looks like. So, for an example, let's just say that I noticed that I have been cursing a lot for the past year, month, however you want to say it. And now I'm trying to get to the mindset to where it's like, hey, I'm going to start doing public speaking. I'm going to start speaking in front of these people. And I know I want to change for myself. What would that look like? First things first, right? Have that vision of what that looks like for yourself. Next, write things down, right? It's important for you to write things down so that you can visually see. In addition to that, it allows you to see the progress that you had prior to you not doing anything. So small victories is big victories when you think about it long term. The next thing that I'll add to is positive people. So for those of you who don't know, me and the big bro Mike G, right? We met each other here on TikTok. Immediately kind of connected with big bro from office energy, how he talked, how he handled himself, how he held himself to a different standard than most people would on TikTok. So because of that, we just kind of evolved out and essentially blew up from there. But that's the type of positive people, the positive aspects that you need to carry yourself on. So just imagine yourself, you've been around a bunch of people who's negative all the time, a bunch of people who don't have real life goals. And I mean that in the sense of like where it is that you see yourself within the next 2, 5, 10 years. If you're around people who don't have a plan and just essentially say they're just gonna wing it by life, that's I'm not saying they are bad people in a sense, but you need to, to allow yourself to be around positive people. All right. And then lastly, when it comes to having a different mindset, right, it's just being open-minded for opportunities. There's a lot of things that happen in life to where we kind of have our own barriers and we kind of put our own stumbling blocks in front of us because we feel like, maybe we're not too, keen for this, or maybe we're not too good for this, or maybe we can't do this. So you kind of put up these own sabotaging thoughts in your mind, and that's a big no go when it comes to you trying to change your life and trying to have a positive mindset, even if it's something that you feel like you can't recover from. I.e., let's just say that for whatever reason you end up getting a divorce because you was the one who cheated. Right? We can all kind of relate to that in a sense, but understand why you do it. Right? Learn from the mistake that you did, and then obviously forgive yourself and then move forward. Right? The positive mindset, you have to be the change that you want to see. You can't just say it without talking. But yeah, that's kind of what I got from mindset, big bro. What you got?
Yeah. So I like everything you said, man. I ditto to all of it. But one of the most important things I think you said was focusing on realistic goals. But when you have those realistic goals, you have to, if you're going to include other people in those goals, like you said, that we click from the very beginning, and people talk about the age difference and all those things like that. But I haven't seen any issues with our age difference. You know what I'm saying? I think that we both have a like mindset. And I think that's what the most important thing about your goals are, is having the right mindset about the goals. But also, everyone don't have the same vision that you have when it comes to your goals. So you have to make sure that if you're going to involve other people in your goals, and which I wouldn't do that unless they're actually involved in it and not just sideline people. But if you're going to involve, they have to have realistic thoughts. They also have to be positive people, because a lot of times people, if you have a goal, they don't have the vision that you have. So if you involve people that don't have the same vision that you have, they're going to pull you down. Oh, no, you're going to be negative. Why are you doing that? That don't even make any sense to me, but they don't have your same vision. So you have to focus on having people around you if you're going to do it. Like us, we're a close-knit team. We entertain other stuff, but it's all about what we do and what we want to do for our platform. And we listen to people, but at the end of the day, we decide what's best for us. And we don't let them people or their negative energy deter us from doing the things that we want to do. So that's one of the first things I focus on, is having realistic goals. And if you're going to involve people, make sure that they have the right mindset about it. And it can't be a whole army of people. I'm just saying, too many people, they're going to tear your goals up, So just make sure you focus on being realistic and setting those short-term and long-term goals when it comes to whatever you're trying to achieve.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. And then, like, just to add on to that, I just want to talk about just be mindful of the people that you allow in your circle. Because everyone who eats at the table with you, it's not necessarily your friend. Some people can take that as a good thing and a bad thing, but for the most part, we understand the situation at hand when it comes to you having essentially too many people. Unless, of course, that you can all kind of just vibe. You all got that positive. You all in the gym. You all, you can kind of tell different between someone who essentially want to be there for you and then people who just using you. So don't get that twisted.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So next one I want to talk about is your time management. You can set a goal, you can lay out the plan, you can buy all the equipment, you can do everything. But if you don't have your time management set up where you can manage that goal or manage your everyday life and deal with what you're trying to achieve, it won't be successful. So you have to lay out a plan where it's focused on things that you can achieve within that time management. Like for me, I like to golf, right? Y'all, everybody know that. I love golfing. So I can't say I want to come on here and do a podcast with Legendary, but then he said, look, man, we're going to meet up at 4 o'clock on Saturday. Oh, no, bro. I'm going to be on that golf course, man. Okay, all right, I'll tell you what, let's set a time for next week. Set the time for next week. Oh, you know what, man? A golf game came up, bro. I can't do it. It's time for him to kick my ass to the curb, because I'm messing up his goal. So you have to be able to manage your time and not just managing your time when you're in front of the camera or whatever you're doing, or if you're in your goal, but also manage the time when you're away from that goal to make sure there are things that you're doing that align with that goal as well. So time management is very important because without that, then you'll be just lost in the sauce. So
Yeah, so something that really resonated with me. This happened probably. Ooh, how old am I? Almost 40. So this happened probably about 17 years ago. All right, I had my first platoon sergeant. He was sergeant first class, Anthony Williams. Hopefully, he get an opportunity to see this. But he told us when it comes to time management, all you got to remember is 6 P's. Right, 6 P's. Prior planning prevents piss poor performance. Prior planning prevents piss poor performance. And then when you use that concept, you can understand how important it is for you to prior plan things that you want to accomplish and achieve in your life. When it comes to you just winging certain things, there might be some opportunity where you're on a short time span to where you have to dive into it right then and there and get it done. But for the most part, when you talk about long term things, right? Prior planning prevents piss poor performance. If you don't prior plan things and you think you're just gonna go out there and do it, then you're gonna fail a lot. Even if you prior plan to it, don't necessarily mean that you won't fail, but you will be able to write things down and figure out where it is that you can go for your next step. So for an example, let's just say that I wanted to, I don't know, start a business. And let's say when I wanted to get a building to start the business in, I go there, I try to go ahead and pay, and then it comes back that my credit's messed up. All right, so now that's a setback. I'm starting over again. Now I know, hey, my priorities changed. Now I got to fix my credit, right? And then I go back to it after I fix my credit, try to apply for this building again, and I say, yeah, well now you need $20,000, saved up before you're eligible to close on the building that you want, for your podcast. Like, dang, all right, that's another stumbling block. So these are things that you need to think about when it comes to prior planning. When you see a goal, right? Envision the things that could possibly go wrong and then have a way to deviate from that or have a different avenue approach to accomplish, things that come up, because you can't plan for everything, but plan for something, just so you understand. But yeah, that's what I got for time management.
and I add one last thing to the time management. For all our people out there ain't no CP time. 7 o'clock is 7 o'clock. I believe that's very important to me by being on time and being accountable to the people that you're doing something with, or just being accountable to yourself. Because you may be doing something that you're trying to be successful in on your own, but you have to be on time. When you tell people you're going to be somewhere, be there. Don't just. And I always hear people in the middle. I'm a retired military guy, so when they tell me, you said be here at 7 o'clock. Yeah, but that don't mean you walk in at 7 because I may be ready to start at 7. Be on time and be ready to go and make sure you honor the time and be respectful for the people that you have involved in what you're doing with that. Another thing that's involved in being successful, though, really, and a lot of people don't think about it, is being fit. You should have, in order to be fit and have a sharp mind, he's in that gym. I knew he's going to like that one. You got to be in that gym. But you have to make sure that, and it ain't in that lifting the gym, it ain't in that running marathon thing. Like, it's just being healthy and having some type of activity in your life where it allows you to be a healthy person. You don't have to be a marathon runner. You don't have to be a power lifter, anything like that. It's just things you're doing to make sure that you can maintain your body and be fit, because a fit body leads to a fit mind. You know what I'm saying? So you got to make sure that you're taking care of your mind by your health and that's what you eat and things like that. I'm not saying I don't. Hey, I love a Whopper, but I can't eat a Whopper every day. Don't expect my mind to be sharp. I got to eat that in moderation. But still, being fit is definitely one of the things that you need to do. So that's just my take on it, though, on the time as far as on the exercise part of it. My bad.
Yeah. So just to add into that, right? Those of us we know somebody who always say, "Hey, at the first of the year that come around, listen, I'm getting that gym, and I'm gonna go ahead and get it in for the one time for the whole year, right?" And people, there's some people who stick to that plan. There's some people who essentially kind of fall off. Just because you fall off in that that month or a month or two, that don't mean that you should just give up. Get right back on it, right? Try again. That's the same thing that comes when it comes to your mentality when it goes towards accomplishing things or being successful. There's gonna be a lot of things that happen to you that gives you setbacks. There's gonna be a lot of things that happen to you that kind of give you the thought process of like, okay, maybe I can't do this, or maybe this is too hard. But you have to understand, like, your mind is the most powerful thing that kind of drives action when it comes to you just saying certain things. If you have a weak mind, and I don't mean this to be derogatory by any means, but if you have a weak mindset, then essentially you can be influenced by all type of bad people, evil entities, etc. Just because you want to fit in, or because you want to be seen as I'll do things to and essentially please my best friend that's on the block not doing that. I just want to show off for them. I want to do specific things that that you wasn't raised to do in one and two, that you don't even believe in, but you're just doing it just to prove a point or just to show them that you're loyal, right? So don't have that type of mindset. Just understand that no one's perfect. People are gonna mess up, right? The difference is you getting up more than you fall. And on top of that, especially if you have kids, you have to understand the type of role model that you will be, even if you don't want to be that role model in a sense, right? Like, there are your kids, your family members, certain people, like, they look up to you, even if you don't see it at that moment. But eventually, like, it'll kick in. People look up to you. So just what Big Bro said, going into the gym, being healthy, it's not just physical; it's mental too. And on top of that, you got to understand you wanna live longer. So there's a lot of health benefits to you going to the gym as well.
And to add to that, the one part about the fitness a lot of people don't think about, and I'm just going to be transparent. I got to get better at it. It's sleep. I don't sleep in maybe 4 or 5 hours a night most of the time. And that I can't sustain that. You know what I mean? I know that. And plus, I'm getting older. So I got to be mindful of that. You know what I'm saying? But I think sleep is important. I think it's very important. It's not that I don't think it's important, but my body, my mental clock just won't allow me to do it. But I got to get better. So what I'm starting to do now, I'm starting to take naps. I come home, I give me like a 45 minutes, an hour nap in, try to make sure I'm to add to that, although I may not be able to sleep through the night the whole time. And I know that sometimes when you're working on things, I get it. You have to spend more time. You have to stay up a little bit longer. But that's the short term, though. But the long term should be to get more sleep, to make sure that your mind is as sharp as it can be whenever you're doing whatever you're doing, to be successful and to be have a healthy habit when it comes to your sleep habit.
It's crazy. Well, like, when you're younger, right, and you in kindergarten, first grade, elementary school, right, versus when you're an adult, right. When they tell you that, hey, it's time for you to go to sleep, you be mad. You be mad as hell. You're like, bro, I don't want to go to sleep. I want to play around. It's like, now, as an adult, it seemed like, bro, every time you get an opportunity to catch a nap or get something, like, listen, I would rather sleep, in a sense, right? So I'm just being funny, but at the same time, like, sleep is very vital to growth, right? Especially like when you're in the gym, especially when you changing your mindset. Like, sleep is when your body kind of resets and it fixes things that it feels like it's a problem within your body. So you have to go to sleep and allow your body to regenerate specific things to improve your health and your mentality as well.
Yeah, that's all I have on that one, bro. Unless you got something else you want to add to it.
I don't. That's it.
Overall, just make sure you have effective habits that will lead to you being successful in whatever you do. That's just the mindset. And those are individually based. We can get on here and talk about a lot of different habits and things like that, but you have to find out what works for you. But I can tell you that I don't know anyone that's been successful without them forming some type of pattern of habits that would help lead into that success, though. So that's my last comments on that, is that you have to have something, though.
Okay.
Oh, and by the way, I didn't mention this is episode 7.
Big 7. Yo, Big 7.
Sir, yes, sir. So the next one we're gonna go into. Do we want to do questions right now? We want to just save to the end.
No, wait to the end. We don't want
All
no
right,
go.
that's what's up. All right, the next one go to is productivity hacks. It's time management and efficiency tips. So some of these are going to be similar to what we just talked about the habits,
Mhm.
but that's what it is. Though we're going to talk about a few of them just to share what our thoughts are on it. So I'll let you go ahead, brother, if you got something.
Yeah. So when it comes to the efficiency hacks, right? So when you consistently doing things over and over and over, you creating the mental reflexes needed. So without you actually thinking about it, you can just kind of do it because you practice of it so long. So for an example, let's just say that I don't know, I was going to shoot basketball. And let's just say that every day I'm shooting over 100 shots, right? And each shot that I'm taking it from different angles on the court. So if I'm doing that every day, right, I'm owning my craft. When it's time for me to get in the game, it's second nature. I'm not really thinking about it no more because I done practiced. I done built up this habit, this natural reflex to just go to a specific spot and shoot. When you think about that, over the bigger scheme of things in life, like this is why it seems like life gets easier as you get older. Now, of course, some people are going to interpret it, a different way than how I'm pertaining it to be. But for the most part, when you get older, you kind of feel like, okay, I gotta hold on things. All right, I know how to manage my money. I know how to pay bills. I know how to go grocery shopping. I know how to talk to the younger generation. I know how to talk to the older generation. I know how to drive in this weather. I know, right? You just get these experiences because you just consistently do them over and over and over again. So when you add that to anything that you're doing, right? Just give yourself time, just like we said earlier, right? When it comes to the time management, give yourself realistic goals, realistic time, and then over of course of however long that you set this goal, remember to have little successful um notes or little successful wins so that you can see that all these small victories is adding up to something on a bigger picture. But yeah.
Yeah, one of the important things I think you said now is that muscle memory thing. A lot of people don't think about that. So I just got to give you an analogy. I know my entire life is not built around golf, but I got one to tell you about is that so muscle memory in golf is a real thing. Golf is they said it's 90% mental, 10% whatever the other stuff is. So if I'm trying to change up how I swing the club, for instance, if I make that change when I in practice, it's easy to do that. But once I get onto the course and start playing golf, my mind takes over, and the muscle memory that I had from all the years I did that certain swing or certain way seeps back into that golf game. So it takes about a 2 year process, a year and a half, 2 years for that change to happen. So you have to just be mindful of that. If you're used to doing things a certain way, and maybe when you get under pressure, you don't think when you're not thinking about it, you may go back to your old ways. So you have to be very mindful that the muscle memory that you built up over the years, and that can be with anything. We can talk about abuse, we can talk about whatever, but we're just talking about having hacks that help you out and being successful. But you have to think about something may seep into your mind. You be like, oh, wait a minute. I didn't mean that, you go back and try to correct it, but you just have to be mindful of the things going on in your mind because it does happen. And that's with anything you do. It's not just on sports, anything like that. Because Legendary mentioned that about the sports. And it's not just about that. It's about whatever you do in life, you have muscle memory. And if you don't deal with that in an effective way, it seeps back into your life at the most unopportune time.
Yeah, and then just to add on to that, like I think a lot of the mental barriers just come from people just being scared to fail. So they choose not to have a specific type of mindset. They choose to deter from time management, and then obviously the hacks that we're giving them, and it all kind of just stem down to the same thing of like people just scared to fail. Maybe it's something within themselves. Maybe it's how other people are gonna look at them slash judge them. Maybe it's how their kids is gonna see them. Maybe it's how their boss is going to see them, but you have to understand in order for you to learn or gain the experience, you have to go through certain storms. You have to learn how to weather them. You have to learn to build resilience because without it, you essentially just kind of just winging it, right? How are you going to give experience to, I don't know, your kids or to someone who really need it if you haven't experienced it? There are some people, or there are some ways that you can learn, right? Visual learners, you got some people who can learn from reading specific instructions. But for the most part, right, if when you're a kid and your mom tell you that stove is hot, and then you just gotta see it for yourself, right? There are some people who gonna listen to mom, and then they'll learn from that. There are some people who can just visualize it by saying, "Hey, hot, don't touch it." And there are some people who just gotta touch it just to figure out on their own. So it all come down to your learning style, right? And then what I feel like is most important is not putting the failure aspect above your successful aspect.
Okay, I like that. I like that. So, huh? I like that a lot because a lot of people focus on the failures more than they focus on the successes. So there are some things that it just happens that way. But I think if you set a list, a priority list, then now you can identify those things and you keep track of your positive and your negative wins, or losses, however you want to look at it. And you make sure you track those things and you keep track of them. And what I like to do is, whenever I have something that I may consider a loss, I'll go back over it. I'll go back and evaluate it and look at it and see how did I put myself in that position? How did I put us in that position? And then I analyze it, and then I make sure that I do things to make sure I prevent that in the future. Keep tracking your successes and your failures will help you either continue to be successful or would also help you from preventing making the same mistake again. So you have to make sure you keep track of those things, and I think it's an important thing to do because it's really something that helps you be successful in going forth and doing things a lot better if you have to. And then, like you said, setting goals. You have to have your goals outlined. And I think that's something you need to do up front. You don't set them as you go along. When you get ready to go into something, you set those goals up front, and then you may have a short term, mid term, or long term goal, and you set those up. I'm not saying they don't adjust throughout the whatever you're going through to try to be, successful or whatever, but you just make sure you monitor those things to have those. Because if you set long term goals, sometimes you may get exhausted in the process because you don't think you're doing anything, you don't think you're achieving anything. So I think having those goals, short term, mid term, and long term, will help you continue to grow. And then you continually evaluate them and see if they need to change or not.
Yeah, and then obviously there's a flip side to that too, right? And not necessarily a negative thing, but don't get complacent too. So let's just say that I have a goal, then let's say I achieve that goal, and then I'm gonna stop, right? I felt like, hey, I achieved my goal. I'm gonna stop right there. I don't need to go forward. Well, remember, as long as you're living, right, you're supposed to be learning and growing every day. So even if you reach your goal sooner than you expected, that's a good thing, right? Don't quit. Go for a bigger goal. Go for something that's life changing. Go something that you can learn from. Practice, own your craft, etc. Don't get complacent or don't get comfortable with just saying, hey, hey, I did it. I'm successful now. It is what it is, right? Because there's just you gotta remember, like there's a lot of people that depends on you, even if you don't see it in that aspect. When it comes to breaking generational curses, right? That's just there's just specific ways and things that you can do to always put yourself in a better position to be successful.
Yes. And another thing that leads to that success is going to be taking breaks. You can't be going 100 miles an hour every day all the time. You have to set some time aside to smell the roses, per se, and take some time to yourself to recharge, to get better at it, and also just to get your mind right, just to get away from whatever you're doing. And one thing I do, one thing that's near and one thing that's far. Golfing is my thing away from life. I like to go out there by myself. I'm on the course by myself, and although I'm not intentionally thinking about what I'm doing, my mind is just continually going in something that I like doing to help me get better. And one thing that people don't think about, taking vacations, getting away from it all and going on a vacation. That's helping you when you come back to be recharged and miss the thing that you're doing to jump back in and get refreshed, get recharged, and be ready to go. And it doesn't have to be a big vacation. You can take a staycation in the city that you're in, just go in a hotel somewhere and just chill out for a weekend or whatever, and just enjoy life, have dinner, exercise or whatever that you're not thinking about what you're doing. Like for us, if, for instance, we're doing this right now, but believe me, we're already planning on. We have already talked about taking a break and doing something that's going to help us get recharged and just get away from this for a little while because it's good and we love doing this. Don't get me wrong, but we also know that if we continue to just do this, we're gonna get burnt out on it eventually. And Legendary and I, we talk about this a lot on our individual podcast that, we just be going and going every week. And he was doing it 5 days a week, so that's tough. And a lot of people don't realize, though, if you just continually going and going like that, eventually you get mentally worn out and tired. So you have to take short breaks and you have to take vacations to get away from what you're doing to make sure you can get recharged and get a fresh a mindset coming back into whatever you're doing.
And then reward yourself. It ain't got to be nothing huge, nothing outrageous, but reward yourself, right? You deserve specific things, right? You deserve it. Like you only get one life, right? I'm not saying you go all out, but you get yourself something nice. Go treat yourself to something nice, right? You deserve those type of rewards when you hit specific goals.
Yeah. One thing I bet you a lot of people don't think about, and when they talk about being efficient and also having time management tips, the power of no. I can tell you,
Oh yeah.
you have to have the power of no, because people, once you start doing something that people like, and whether they're being positive or negative, both of them drain you and they wear you down. So sometimes just because someone wants us to say, for instance, they want us to go on there and talk about something, they want Legendary to talk about finances, which he can talk about those all day long. But then we got a show tomorrow, and Legendary hadn't prepared for the show. Well, he needs to say no to doing something with finances because he'll get engulfed in that. He would get lost in the finances and talking about the finances, and all of a sudden we hit them up. Hey man, we got 30 minutes before we go on. We going on today? Yes, we going on today. But he hasn't done it. I'm just giving it as a example. But you have to learn how to say no because people will drain you. And I mean no with family and friends as well, not just people coming out of nowhere. And I don't have a problem with saying no because what I found out is that ain't nobody gonna look out for Mike G like Mike G look out for himself. So I have to take care of myself and be ready to come on and do things I'm supposed to do. And that's in my professional and my personal life.
Yeah, and then like it's okay to help every now and then, but understand people who genuinely need help, and then people who's taking advantage of you because they know the type of person you are. So don't allow yourself to be taken advantage of. Just what Big Bro said. Listen, say no. If you got to say no, say no. I'm not saying that you ain't gonna feel some type of way, but you got to stand on that, right? If you keep helping them out and keep doing X, Y, and Z, you got to understand the type of crutch that you're giving them because they always now reliant slash dependent on you because they know you're gonna come through. So depending on the circumstances, depending on the situation, don't put yourself in it.
Of course, of course. Now, another one, depending on the number of people that you're involved with and things like that, there's delegation, right? Some people they want to do everything themselves. They want to do everything. And when you start doing whatever business you're going into, whatever endeavor that you're going down the road to try to achieve, you can't do it all by yourself. And hopefully you do have someone involved in it with you that can help you out, whether it's 2 people, 10 people, whatever. Sometimes you have to trust the people that you have around you and be able to delegate. And he and I, we both we're in management, dealing with people and managing people, and we have to because although we know how to do the jobs that we're managing, we can't do everything. We have to be able to build a team and be able to trust that team to allow them to go forth and do things for us. And I can give you an example for what we're doing right here. The 2 ladies that on the team with us, Eyes and Lee. Yes, we want to do videos, we want to download videos, we want to make backgrounds and all those things. And we do that? Yes. But we have a team of people that we come together and we know our different qualities, we know our different experiences, and we know our different things that we are good at doing. So we just let that happen. And we trust them to do that. There's nothing that we do in here that may be, I won't even say delegated because they take it on themselves. They tell us, they delegate to us, to be honest with you, to make sure we do what we're supposed to do. So they have to get on us. But we trust them with, there's nothing that we won't trust them with, as far as what we're doing when it comes to this what we're doing right now. They're they're just as equally important on this team as Legendary and I are. So we are all equals when it comes to this podcast because that's how we have that trust. And that's another thing you have to think about is trust. It's hard for me to trust people just by the way I grew up, how I grew up in the atmosphere that I grew up in. I had to learn to trust people. And going into something like this, or going into a relationship, or going into a business, if you're involved with other people, you have to be able to trust them with someone. If you can't trust them, then you just might as well not even do it because you can't do everything. You just can't do everything.
It's tough, man, because it's so many ways that people can take advantage of certain situations like this and take advantage of opportunities like this, right? And again, not a lot of people have your best interests at heart. So sometimes it is like your responsibility, you know what I'm saying, to understand the people who you allow in your life and the people that you allow in your circle, especially when it comes to something as successful as some of the goals that you put yourself or you force yourself in a sense to kind of accomplish. So yeah, just kind of keep that in mind. Man. All right, though. But if anyone have any questions, we can open it up for questions. So, honestly, please, what we have.
We don't have any questions at the moment.
Okay.
We got one more topic we can jump into though if they don't have any questions. If y'all want to do that, this one should be fun. I've been trying to think about it. I don't know. I may have to plead the fifth on some stuff.
Let's
But
get to it.
the next one is going to be modern dating chronicles, funny, weird, or real dating stories. What you
Mm.
got?
Let's see. All right. So the biggest problem when it comes to the modern dating. This is listen. I'm not putting anything out there. This is. I'm just saying. Just just talking. So the what modern dating is social media. We kind of beat it up a lot, and but it's so true when it comes to the things that people see on social media. They immediately want to implement that into realistic relationships, and you have to understand that social media is one thing, and you doing it in real life is another. That's essentially you just talking the talk and not walking the walk. So the biggest setbacks that I see, this is just me personally, that I see when it comes to dating is I say it all the time, it's just unrealistic expectations. If this is how I see things, right? If you can't bring specific things to the table, then you shouldn't expect that from other people. Now, don't get it confused with natural growth or growing with your partner, but there are some things that I feel like as adults you should already be kind of open to, or you should be kind of aware of. So for an example, let's say that I ask somebody out, right? And for whatever reason she agrees, and then let's say that it was, I don't know, 3 days later, right? And then let's say 3 days later it's time for the date, and then she essentially just counseled within an hour, right? Now listen, there's nothing wrong with you counseling because things do come up, but here's the difference when it comes to how I think about certain things. If you was the counselor and you know that you were, then you need to be the one in a sense to kind of reschedule. Hey, I know we had a date at 7 o'clock. This came up. Would you be open to next Saturday? Don't just say, hey, this came up. I ain't gonna be able to make it. I apologize. Because in a sense, this is. I'm not saying this goes out to everyone, but for the most part, you got to understand the message that you're sending me. You're telling me like, hey, I'm not gonna be able to make it. It is what it is. I'll talk to you when I can, even if you don't mean it that way, right? So now I'm going to immediately just kind of assume like, oh, okay, I wasn't that important to you anyway, or I wasn't X, Y, and Z anyway, because I didn't even get the courtesy of you rescheduling because you was the one who essentially counseled. But yeah, that's just what I got from there.
Yeah, I think it's very important, my brother, is to make sure you be accountable to the person that you are dealing with, because it's easy to blow someone off, but you got to realize though that person on the other end though, what kind of opinion are you forming up in their mind about you as a person? So I think just being open and honest about it and being accountable to that person is a must, because if you're not, then you might as well just say it's not going to be successful, So I think you just definitely have to be open and honest about it and not be afraid of that. And that should be something that you develop at the beginning of the relationship. So the modern dating thing. Let's talk about that. You and I, we're in the military. We totally understand this, but a lot of people they are totally against long distance relationships. But you and I realize though that if we did that, we should never ever get in a relationship while we're in the military because we're gonna move. We're gonna go to different bases, and if you're not married, even if you're married, a lot of people don't understand this. Even if you're married in the military, if you cannot get a joint spouse assignment, you may be forced to be live in two different states, live in the states, and somebody else is out of overseas. So we set our minds up that that's just a normal part every day of life. Where they're going to be long distance relationships if you're going to be in a relationship, and if you're not, you're not. But if you're going to be in one, it's a guarantee. It's not a guarantee, but it's pretty close to being a guarantee that you're going to be in different cities at some point, and maybe even in a different state or outside of the country when your other partner is in the country. So I think the modern dating has gone to that, and I think it's going to that more and more with social media. And there are so many different things. Like back in the day, when I grew up, before most of you all in here, when I grew up, there were phones on the wall, and there wasn't no FaceTime. The FaceTime was when I took that Polaroid picture, put it in the mail, and sent it to you, and you got it about a month later. That was the FaceTime you got. You know what I'm saying? So there are so many different tools now, man, that leads to that can lead to having a successful long term or long distance relationship. You know, so it's possible, but you just have to be intentional about what you're doing in a long distance relationship. And I'm not saying it works for everybody. Some people need someone to be around them 24/7, or maybe 20 out of the 24 hours a day or whatever. You know, but it's something that you have to consider. You know, because it's more common than you think.
Man, I always think about this. It's like, and nothing against the, what I'm saying, the new generation. I mean, nothing against the new generation, but they'll never understand the fear of calling someone's house phone and not knowing who gonna pick up. Oh Lord. Hey, I want to speak to so and so. Who the hell is this? Or if you've been talking on the phone for like an hour or two, right? And then you hear that little click on the other side, like, it's time for you to go to bed, bro. That is that like they'll never understand the character that they built for us. I had to say this though. When it comes to interactions, right? Like face to face interaction, when it comes to you being social in the aspect, I say this kind of all the time. Like we just don't have that, and it's more so because a lot of people are comfortable with being behind the screen, right? You judge and you do specific things, you think and you read specific things behind the screen, but when it comes to like you meeting up and having some type of social acuity, like it looks different from social media versus in real life. Like I can't tell you how many times like I've awkwardly met someone, not like on a date or anything, but like just in general, just awkwardly met someone, and it was just not how you would expect things to be. Versus when you talk to them, over the phone, when you talk to them over social media, etc. So I think that's just a bad rapport when it comes to you bringing that into real life situations. When it comes to all the time, when it comes to the unrealistic expectation, I dislike it. Like I'm talking about top tier, like almost to the point to where it's like I just like F it, right? It's just like it's just so funny to me that people expect certain people to be a specific way, but you yourself is not the same. So this is why it's important for you to one heal before you get into another relationship, and then two have these specific goals that we was talking about to not only better yourself but better your situation. The people who you allow in your life who could be potentials, right? They shouldn't have to suffer and or go through things because of your past, right? If you still feel like you have things that you have to address, then do that. Don't bring other people in a situation until you feel like you have moved forward. Now, again, there's gonna be certain triggers. There's gonna be certain things that happen to where it kind of I don't want to say set you back, but kind of set you back. But just remember the reason as to why you left certain or specific things behind, and then work towards you having a better mindset when it comes to allowing yourself into another relationship.
Yeah, that's one of the most important things I think you can do is be mindful about your healing process. And I'm not saying it always has to be a completed process, but I am saying you have to be mindful of what you're going through if you're going to get into a relationship with someone that you're healing from something. And also, one of the most important things you can do is share what you're going through with that person so they can realize that if they see things that are not normally who you are as a person that they hadn't seen before, they can kind of understand and help you get through that, because uh, there's going to be times where you may be healing. It may take 2, 3, 4 years sometimes for you to completely deal with a situation and get it under handle, under wraps where you can deal with it. So you may end up being in a relationship with someone that when you are going through that process, but that doesn't mean you don't share it with them. That means that you do share it with them, so that way they can be supportive of you and you in the process of whatever you're going through at that time. So it's not something that blindsides them when you should have been talking to that person about whatever was going on. So I think that's very important, though. So
And then the mind reader mentality. Like, don't bring that into a relationship. Please don't do that. Right? When we say the mind reader mentality, it's like you feel like your partner should just automatically know the things that you're going through. That might be, somewhat true. But when we talk about being realistic, say something. If something's bothering you, say something. If you feel like something's off, say something. Like, there's nothing wrong with you talking about, like, genuinely just having a conversation. Don't just assume that your partner is a mind reader and they just know specific things, or they should know specific things, because as adults we all expect to know things, but you know from your friends and the adults that you hang around, you be like, bro, you didn't know that? Like, you know what I'm saying? So the expectation that you have for people, in a sense, just kind of be aware of what it is that you genuinely asking from your partner.
Yeah. So for me, I'm gonna be transparent. Trust, I for years I didn't even realize it, man. Trust was sabotaged in relationships that I was in. I'd be in a relationship, have a nice, person that I'm talking to and everything. In my early 20s, this was going on a lot, and I would just when I thought it was getting too serious or about to get to that point where you have to start putting up and shutting up, as far as long term situations. I would do some stupid stuff to sabotage the relationship. And I did it without even knowing it. That's only because my trust issues would not allow me to believe that this person was going to be truthful to me and take care of me. And the reason it was that way is because I had learned from some of the people in my life, the people that I loved and cared about, family members, that they showed me, in my eyes, as a young kid, they showed me that women couldn't be trusted. And I didn't even know that that was ingrained into me like that until I was able to get some help for it. But I would sabotage. I would intentionally do things unconsciously to sabotage that relationship, and that's something I had to learn, man. Because I met a lot of good people that they didn't deserve that, and I'm not gonna go back and apologize to all of them because I don't know them anyway now. But I did things that just to get out of the relationship, and didn't think twice about it. You know what I'm saying? I didn't think twice about it. But luckily, I think what I realized though is I needed some help with that, and I did. I did go see someone about my trust issues, so that way I can be successful in relationships. Because and that didn't happen overnight. That's an exercise. You talking about muscle memory? If I got something subconsciously in me that how it goes on, if I'm not conscious of it, it seeps back into my life to this day. So I have to be very conscious of what I'm going through, and I also have to be very intentional about implementing the things that helps me stay away from doing that to people.
Self sabotaging. So in a sense, like I like talking about that topic because a lot of people not really aware that they're doing it. Meaning, you I say this all the time. Like, you so used to chaos that when you get into an actual relationship, it seems foreign. It seems like you're like, oh, you can't be this person. Oh, I'm just waiting on you to kind of mess up. I'm waiting on you so I can say, hey, yeah, I knew you wasn't the person who you said you were. And when people do that, like, you got to understand the situation. Not only you putting yourself in, but you putting your partner in, because they only gonna take so much. Someone who genuinely into you would make you feel like that. And I understand that there are things that people need to heal from. There are things that people need to consistently work on. And there's no knock to people who have that, or go through those specific things. But you got to understand, when you talking about self sabotaging the situation, don't do it because you personally think, oh, it's too good to be true, or you personally think, oh, like, this fairy tale just can't be. This person, he can't be who he say he is. She can't be the person she is, who she says she is. When it comes to you and essentially being open and falling in love with people, you have to understand that, yes, that's a possibility that you can get your heart broken. You can get your heart broken in freaking 1,000 pieces, but they, and essentially, make it feel like they are worth the risk. And I don't want to say risk, and I don't want to mean it in a bad way, but you understand what I'm saying.
Oh yes, sir. Yes, sir. Any funny stories you want to share?
Funny stories. I don't know about no funny story, but I will tell you this. This happened back in, what year was this? I don't know. I was young, probably just got back from my first deployment, essentially, and there was this girl. I'm not gonna say her name because you never know
Totally
when it's.
innocent.
Okay, you never know. This was years ago. But yeah, man, I really liked her in a sense, and we kind of did everything together. It was going good for about a year and some change, and then she ended up saying like, "Hey, I'm gonna get out the military." She was older, and she's like, I gotta go, gotta go be with my kids. And I was like, all right. And then she was like, you should get out the military too. And I was like, yeah. And it is so funny because I ended up being about a month away from my reenlistment date, my reenlistment window to close. And I was like, at the time, I was like, I had my oldest kid, and I was like, listen, I'm with that because the military just, like when you sit down and you tell people why you joined, they look at you in a little different, but they see the reason behind it. And the military was never in the works for me. And I was like, you know what? I can definitely get out. I think I'm gonna get out. And I was like, all right. So I ended up having my mindset, and I was like, I'm not gonna re-enlist. And right before she left, our company had gave how they do the not retirement stuff, but the discharge stuff. You know how they give plaques and they say specific things that they accomplished while they was in the company and how they impacted the company, etc. And she had her husband come up and acknowledge him, kissed him, and everything. And at this whole time, I was just like, I almost got out of the military to go be with her, and she had all that planned. I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna re-enlist. So I re-enlisted the next week, and then I end up moving to a different company, and then woo, everything else just kind of took off from there. But
Wow.
yeah,
Wow.
I think about that all the time, and I was just like, bro, that's crazy. Because I legit like, for those of you who don't know me, I'm on year 19, so I'm almost done with my military career. But imagine then, like, if I would have got out and then, you know, I was just thinking about that. I was like, dang, bro, like I almost, woo, that was almost it,
I wouldn't have known the legendary pulls, huh?
like that. Of course. But yeah, I think about that from time to time.
Right. Definitely a learning experience. I
Absolutely.
got one. When cell phones first came out, right? I was in
Mm.
my first marriage, man. I was
Look here.
first marriage. I shouldn't have been married. I wasn't ready for it. I wasn't even close to being able to commit to anything other than to Mike age, So, yeah, man, it was rough. But anyway, going out one night with the fellas, and about 2 weeks before that, I was in an apartment complex, and I had met these teachers. It was two of them. They were living together. They were wild. I mean, oh, okay, it's close, but it can work though. We can make this work. And so anyway, I leave the house. I had just got a cell phone probably like 2 months before that because I didn't know how to operate. It was just when they first came out, the little small one with the
The
notar.
Nokia.
What was it? Nokia's? Yeah,
Yeah,
Nokia's.
yeah.
Yeah, I had one of those, right?
The
So
one the battery
anyway,
power never die.
exactly. So I leave the apartment, right? So I'm not trying to go too far because I'm in the apartment. So I'm gonna go park somewhere, go park or whatever, and they gonna come pick me up and go back to the apartment. So I'm calling the number, right? It was weird. I called the number. I thought I was calling them. Man, it
Mhm.
went straight to my wife. Hello? Oh, what? Oh shit, what?
Oh Lord.
I hung the phone up real quick, turned the
Oh
phone off, and didn't
Lord.
answer. I went on out to the club and didn't answer the rest of the night. Got home. What happened to your phone? I don't know. It must have died or something. I don't know what happened to it.
Gotta see it through. Gotta see it through. That's tough.
But yeah, man, it was wild times. But that was a long time ago. And to be honest with you, although those are not the best things, you learn. I learned from that. I learned. I mean, you just got to be honest with people. You got to tell people. You just got to tell people who you are, what you're about, and let them make an informed decision about whether they want to be with you or not. You don't have to go through all that because eventually, all it rises eventually. You know what I'm saying? It always comes to the top. So why put yourself through that? You might as well be honest up front and let people know what's going on because if not, it's coming. It's something going to happen where you're gonna slip up. Somebody gonna say something or whatever. So just be honest up front.
Another thing that I learned is I don't make expectations unless we both make it. So whoever I'm talking to in this situation, etc., I'm not gonna make expectations unless we both make them. And I've found out over the year that life seems a lot simpler. When I put my own expectations on people, in a sense, for the most part, man, that listen, they don't follow through. They just don't follow through. So I've learned not to put my own expectations on people. The expectation that I have is something that we both agree on, and if we both don't agree on those, then I don't expect that.
I like what you said. Life is a lot easier then. Relationships are a lot. People complicate relationships because they should not be complicated. They should be easy. But like you said, unrealistic expectations, expecting someone to do something that having a double standard or not being honest and loyal, all those things complicated. If you are just honest about those things and just say those things up front, and like you said, have a mutual agreement about how your relationship is going to go, it's easy. The difficult part is trying to keep other people from trying to mess up your relationship there, you know. So it's easy between you and the person that you're with, though. So it should be very easy.
Social media.
Social media. That's one thing I don't believe in. You know, a lot of people talk, you know, they know I'm in a long distance relationship, right? I don't believe in getting on here and putting all that out here because it's not, there's nothing that's beneficial to me doing that on here. Everything we do is private, and it's not private because you know I'm that guy. It's private because I don't need everybody on here give me opinions about what should be done when they're not doing it themselves. You know, they have a whole lot of advice, but they can't do it for themselves. So I just think that it should never be on social media. It never. It's okay with people knowing that you're in something, but as far as what we're going through, you'd never get me to come over here and say that somebody did something. For what? What do you gain from that?
You know how you got your homeboy that you done grew up with, and he on the couch. And anytime you come and you present an opportunity, hey man, I've been thinking about opening a shoe store, blah blah blah. They always got the right idea. They always got the right routes. They always got the right words to say, but they don't never do nothing for themselves. You know,
Nothing.
they're just comfortable and complacent at where they at. That's the type of people that you shouldn't be surrounded in when it comes to you changing your mindset because those people give you the false premises of it's okay to be where you at, right? Like this is what allows complacency to kick in. Oh man, you already did 20 years in the military, man. You ain't gotta do nothing else, man. Just chill out. Yeah, that may be true, but that's not something that that I want to do as of right now. Like I still have ambitions, I still have goals, I still have things that I want to accomplish in life. So yeah, that's it's just what I think about from time to time.
Yeah, we're at an advantage that a lot of people don't think about. That's not in the military. But we leave home, our home state, cities, or whatever, and go off and do other things. Then we go back home, right? And we see people that what we were doing when we were in high school, they still on the same corner, they still at the same club doing the same thing. So for us, the military people, if you're being mindful, it gives you an outlook about how things can be and how things should be. And it shows you that going in the military, if you have taken advantage of the things that the military has to offer, was something that saved you from being that same person. Because you probably would have been doing the same thing. I would hope that we wouldn't, but I don't know though. You know, I don't know if I would have just got caught up in the whole warp of doing what they're doing. You know, because they were the people that we hung out with. We did everything. We did a lot of things together. I would hope that I would have grown, but I think the military saved me from a lot of heartache, man. I really do.
Yeah, and I say that all the time, man. The military has made me smarter. And then when you say that to people in the military, they be like, "Bro, what? Well, I ain't never heard that one." But it's opened so many doors. And then tying this into a mindset, like when we go home on leave, just what Big Bro said, with like the people we grew up with are still in the same spot. And again, like no knock to them. I don't want it to seem like I'm above and beyond. But when I go home and you still selling what you selling, or you still slanging, or you still doing X, Y, Z, I'm like, all right, well, when do you grow out of this? Like, you know what I'm saying? Especially if you have kids involved. And I understand, like, listen, I promise, I understand that you have to provide for your family, but all fast money ain't good money. Like, get something that's gonna have a doggone 401k, something that you can, you know what I'm saying, that you can genuinely depend on because you got to understand, even though the money and things of that nature is looking good right now, all it takes is one slip up. And then you're gonna be missing. When I say missing, I mean you're gonna be doing some years behind bars. So just kind of this is just generally what I think about. I just like, bro, I go home and like, bro, I'm glad to see you, man. But when you gonna get off, they gonna be like, oh, here you go, bro. You think you uppity now? You think you this now? I'm like, bro, nah, bro, I care about you, man. Like you know that nothing good is gonna end this. This is only gonna end one or two ways.
Yep. And that's normal and absolute. It's I don't deal with absolutes. That's normal and absolute though. It really is, So I was trying to think of anything else that I could share about about relationships and chronicles. A lot of stuff I can't share here. That would be wise.
Yeah, yeah. When we get to YouTube, man, and I can essentially open up because there's a lot of things that I be wanting to talk about, but
Right.
because because of TikTok.
Yeah. So that's all I have, brother, on that. I don't have anything else unless you have something.
No, man. I think we not that out. We could just open back up for questions. I saw some questions earlier, but we ended
Okay.
up talking.
So the first question is, what are your expectations for yourselves?
Oh, for me, I'm gonna be accountable for my actions. I'm gonna be quick to apologize, and I'm gonna treat people honestly the way I want to be treated. Just that it's just that basic for me. I don't make it complicated for me. I just think that my expectations also is to be a good listener, to make sure that I'm listening to people and not talking all the time. Because a lot of times we get caught up in what we think we know, and especially you've been around for a little bit and you think that you know a lot of things. I may know a lot of things, but sometimes it's time for me just to close my mouth and just listen and be that ear versus trying to always help somebody. That's me. That's me in a nutshell.
Yeah, I mean, shoot. I mean, I don't want to repeat the same things, but yeah, that's essentially myself as well. The only thing that I would add to that, right, is just when it comes to the accountability portion, a lot of people in their mind think that they are exempt from accountability, and or they just brush that off to other people. I don't like that. So, I listen. When I tell you that is one of my biggest pet peeves when people just push off problems like they didn't have anything to do with it, and it's just all your fault. So I'm real quick of taking accountability, regardless if the other person is saying it's my fault or it's not my fault, etc. I'm like, you know what, it's my fault. Since you can't take accountability for it, not saying it like that, but that's just how I feel. Since I say this in my head, since you feel like you exempt from it, or you feel like you didn't do anything wrong, I'll take accountability for it. Hey, my fault. I apologize. I don't mean it in a sarcastic way. I genuinely say that because I know how some people are. Again, I don't want to categorize people, but you have and people who just so quick to just brush things off like it's your fault, like they didn't have anything to do with it. So when it comes to that, like that's just what I want to add to. I'm quick to take accountability for it.
Yeah, legendary man. I can't tell you the number of people I've met where they will not admit that they've had things they needed to improve in their lives. I don't never want to be that person because I know that even at this age now, there's always something I can improve on. You know what I'm saying? So when I meet people like that, my trust meter is justified then because I know that if they cannot take accountability for being someone that can be a sponge to grow, it's not necessarily being unsuccessful. It's just that there is no one on the face of this earth that's walking that's perfect that had to have the opportunity where somebody needed to talk. Hey, look, man. Hey, look, sis, that was wrong. You shouldn't have done that. But this person, anything and everything they've ever done in life, they've been perfect at. Okay. So I try my best not to be that person because I know that's not true. I know there's things, even being transparent in the things as far as in the first marriage I was in where I did everything except what I was supposed to do.
Right.
I would be negligent if I didn't come on here and let people know that. You know what I'm saying? If I couldn't tell people that I had been through something, because I think a lot of people try to put labels on you when you say that you hadn't been successful in a marriage. That doesn't mean I didn't learn anything. I mean, maybe the lesson was I needed to get out of the marriage because I wasn't successful. I wasn't good in the marriage, and that this really irritates me a lot because what is the best teacher on this earth? Experience. So maybe I was successful. Maybe I can give you things to make sure that you don't be unsuccessful. Because I learned in those things. So we got to stop looking at people that way. Just because they haven't been successful in something, that doesn't mean they don't have something to add. Now, I'm not saying don't be mindful. I'm not saying that, but they may have something they can give you to help you be successful, though.
Yeah, and then the last thing I'm gonna add on to is what we always say, right? Learn how to forgive people. Now, there's a difference with you saying that you forgive them, then putting it in action. If you say that you're gonna forgive them, truly forgive them. If you can't trust them for any reason after that, then say that, and then you move on. If you can't forgive them, right, you genuinely mean it, and you can trust it, keep your relationship and work on it. It's just like I don't want to say it's that simple, but when you think about it, it's that simple. Outside of it taking time to heal and etc.
Hey man, I can give you a true experience of that. I was in a relationship, and the person they committed infidelity, and it stung. I'm not gonna lie, it stung hard. Because it makes you look at yourself and wonder what am I not doing to make that person want to go out there and do that. But at the time, I cared for the person where I gave them another chance. But before I did that, though, I made a commitment to myself that would never come up in a argument. That would never come up when anything was going on. If I'm gonna forgive you, I didn't forget it, but it did not become a anvil where every time they brought up something, I was hitting them across the head with it. You know what I mean? So I had to move on from it. And if I was gonna be in a continuing relationship, I had to forgive them and just and basically forget it as far as throwing it out there and letting it be something that came up all the time. I never brought it up again until they tried to point some out to me. I said, "Hey, now this one we on our way out. Now that you did it first. Just because I forgave you, I didn't forget that. So don't throw stones that you can't take coming back at your glass window. You know what I'm saying?"
What's up? 50 said it best. Glass house. Man. All right. Well, listen, we can open it up for questions. What else we got?
So the next question says, how do you delegate when you like to do stuff yourself?
Simple communicating that. I mean, it's just really that simple. The bad thing that I found out in a sense is that some people don't be up to par and they take it the wrong way. So if I wanted to do something, let's just say that I wanted to go golfing by myself, and let's just say that my girlfriend, my wife, etc., she wanted to go, and I'm like, listen, I understand that you want to go, but right now, like, I just feel like this is just my piece right now. So I get away, let me go, and then she take it as in like, oh, I can't go with you now. What you doing? What you X, Y, and Z? What you got going on? So a good way to alleviate that is when you make plans and essentially to do things on your own, make sure that you also make plans afterwards or sometime in the future, near future, right? That you can add your person into that because a lot of times they just want to just feel noticed. They just want to just be seen, be heard, etc. And a lot of times, if you want to do things on your own, even though you have good intentions, to some people that might be taken negatively. So just what we've always been saying, just communicate that. Listen, I don't have a problem. It's not that I don't want to be around you. Look, let me just go here. Let me just get to my safe space in a sense. Not like, not saying that she's not safe space, but let me go to my place so I could, not think about work, or I can just kind of relax and just let everything go and just go and enjoy myself a little bit.
Yeah, and I'll add on to that a little bit, legendary, as far as the delegation part. You and I both. I'm not bragging anything, but we've moved up in the ranks of military, and now it's time for us to manage things. And the reason we were able to move up because we was probably pretty good at what we did, so they put us in a position to be successful and getting promoted and things like that. And then we have people coming but below us that it's now our turn to mentor them and help them get better at what they're doing so they can take our place one day. And if we always trying to do the job that we're not even supposed to be doing anymore, not let them do it, they would never learn how to replace us when they come up. And that's something I had to learn myself because you take ownership of things, right? So you take ownership of whatever you're managing and you want it to be successful. But if you're not making sure the people on your team have the tools they need to be successful, you have a hard time delegating because you don't think they're going to be successful. But if you've given them everything they need, you have to let them grow. You have to let them experience things for themselves because that's the way you learn. So why not let them do the same thing, experience the things? And you know what I've learned also, and it's true to the core, is that there are so many different ways to get to a certain task that it's not even funny. As long as it's not going to be something that's going to harm you or someone else, let people do it their way. As long as it's not something that's against the rules and regulations and things like that. Because just because you do it one way doesn't mean there's not another way, two or three ways to do it differently and have the same result. So delegate, give it to people, let them do it, and let them do it their way. As long as it's going to make sure you achieve the goal that you set out to achieve.
Absolutely. And then one of the biggest things that I take away from the military, what the military taught me, there's a difference between leadership engagement and then micromanaging. So yeah, just kind of keep that in mind too. What else we got?
Was if a person is taking accountability, how do you receive them?
What do you
It's gonna
mean?
be. I mean, I'm glad. I'm glad they're being accountable.
That kind of speaks for itself. Like when someone can take accountability, that shows that they're willing to put in effort. It shows they're willing to grow. It shows that they're willing to put away selfish things for the betterment of the relationship. So like you want that, or unless I'm just not understanding the question.
Yeah, I agree with you too. That if someone is taken accountable, they kind of, in my mind, build up. status, they build up points. You know, if we're doing it, if I'm trying to explain it, I'm just trying to explain it that way. They're building up my trust in them. If they're willing to take accountability for their actions, the trust that I have for them is growing. If I don't have ultimate trust already, it is growing because I know that they'll take accountability for anything, especially if it's something negative.
You don't understand how vital taking accountability and constructive feedback is in a relationship. Like, just imagine every time you genuinely telling your partner something's bothering you, and they just brushing off like, "Oh, you just being sensitive, let that shit go," or "Oh, you need to be a man and grow up," or "You need to be a woman and figure it out." Like, just imagine every time you bring something of significance up to your partner that they just, or they always blame it on you. Well, if you didn't do X, Y, and Z, it would have not made me do this, blah blah. You know what I'm saying? So someone who can take accountability, whew, breath of fresh air. Listen to us. So I tell you.
We have
Next
anything
one.
else?
No, no more questions right now.
Okay. Hey, for me, all the subjects we talked about today, if you were focused on them, they were talking about how to be successful, how to be accountable to yourself, how to grow, how to take care of yourself. And overall, I think just looking out for yourself mentally, physically, spiritually, those are things that are going to help you be successful in anything that you do. And I'm not saying that you won't be unsuccessful at times, but they're going to help you grow, come back from that unsuccess much faster than you would have if you didn't have those things in your life. And one thing we hadn't touched on a little bit, I'll talk about a little bit of spirituality. And I don't care what it is, as long as you have something that you can lean on when times get hard. Because I can tell you, being able to, I lost my brother when he was about 22, but later on, and being able to, and I was overseas at the time. No, I wasn't. I was in Texas at the time, and not being able to be there and having something other than people that I could go to and just talk to and share what I was going through helped out tremendously. So I don't care what it is, what type of, as long as it's positive, a positive religion, that that you have something you can lean on to help you out that's not harming other people. Because I think that's very important also. A lot of people overlook that part of it. But there's a lot of times, when I go into my mindset and I'm just talking to my man, about me and what I need to do to get better. So I think that's one thing we didn't touch on, but I think that's very important also.
Yeah, and to add on to that, right? And then sometimes it's not always a good thing to force people. Like, allow people to kind of find things their way, find it like their way in a sense, right? Because it's okay to kind of help them navigate through things, but when you force people to a specific religion, or you force people to do things because it might have helped you in the past, that's not always a good thing, because they're not genuinely being themselves. They kind of just doing this to satisfy you and not because they want to do it. So, speaking, I am a Christian, right? And again, I don't want this to come off wrong, but I know the type of things that happens, in the church house. Now, I'm not gonna go on that different side, but y'all know what I mean when we talk about being hypocrites in a sense. So, just allowing people to find it their way, and then when it comes to the religion aspect, even more, just find something that's going to help you stay grounded. Find something that you can hold on to. Find things that's going to help motivate you in a time to where you don't feel like you have enough motivation. When it comes to where you feel like you want to quit, or when it feels like the world is against you. And on top of that, the complete opposite. When God being good to you, you give him thanks. When he's blessed you, you give him thanks. When he's allowed people to come in your life, you give him thanks. So yeah, don't just be one-sided with that as well.
Yeah, I like that. Anything else that came up? Ladies, anything we need to share?
No, everything was great.
Okay. All right. Well, hey, look here. If there are no questions, we're open for questions right now. We're not trying to end it, but if you all don't have any questions, then we're going to go ahead and start wrapping it up. I just want to thank the people that came in, supported us this morning. We know it's early. We get that. But, it's important for me. I mean, he may not want to do it, but I said it's important for me to make sure that Legendary has opportunity to reach the people that came on to support him every day in and day out. Also, can't just be all the time at 8 p.m. Eastern time that we put the show on, because I think that's important. That's just how I feel about it. We thank y'all for coming in, though. If you haven't already subscribed to our YouTube page, please go ahead and do that, because we will be moving over there at some point here in the near future. Especially, he'll say it, but he's going to be coming back next few months. So we will have a set time, set day and time when that happens, But we thank y'all for the support, continued support. If there are things, that you want us to talk about, we're not against that. We may not get to it when you want us to get to it, but we'll get to it. If you send it to Eyes and Leah, send it to one of us, we'll write it down and we'll get to it, But we don't mind taking that feedback offline and talking about it. But thank you all very much. Episode 7, looking good. I think everything went well, and we thank y'all for coming in and supporting us. All right, my brother.
Yeah, man. Listen, as always, hey, we appreciate y'all. Honestly, we always gonna give y'all roses while y'all here. Don't want to be, Debbie Downer, but listen, appreciate everything that y'all do, big bro, as well. And again, happy late birthday, you know what I'm saying? Hopefully you turned up for the one time. And yeah, just what he said. Go ahead and follow the YouTube channel, right? You can follow all of our individual TikToks as well. And then just what they said, like eventually we will be migrating over to YouTube. When you go to the YouTube channel, right? We still working out the ratios when it comes to the video, so the quality of it might not essentially be up to par just yet, but the information is still there, right? So if you haven't had an opportunity to go check it out, please go ahead, check it out, subscribe, like the video, do all of the things. And then, yeah, you're going to be great. Today is early for y'all. Right now it's currently 8:20 or 8:12 p.m. for me, so my day's done. But listen, y'all just getting y'all day started. So go out there and be great, right? Be successful, stay positive, and then last but not least, be the reason someone smiles today. Y'all be safe.
One love.